Hello everybody and welcome back to some more Hearthstone here on the channel. We're going to be hopping right back in the ladder on our Paladin deck, coming straight off of a couple of pretty good victories last time. Thanks to the Quartermaster and the Muster for Battle combination we were able to do. So we're going to be going right back in it and trying to see if we can do just as well, if not better this time, against another Paladin to start out with. Drawn to a Consecration, Quartermaster, and a Sneed's Old Shredder. Probably going to get rid of all three in favor of some more early game cards, hopefully. Might have been better if we would have kept our Quartermaster just because of the combo, to make sure that we can use it. However, I feel it's better to potentially get some more early cards. If we would have a Muster of Battle in our hand at the time we got it, I definitely would have kept it. That being said, we did not. Probably going to coin out a shielded minibot, especially if he doesn't have anything to use. A secret is not the best for us, but it could be far worse, so just put it out. Nothing really that could be too dangerous to us. And there we go, we have a 2-2 on the board. We could make it a 5-2 with Divine Shield next turn if we wanted to. Or else we could just use an Annoyatron. But, actually yeah, I think I'm going to put the Annoyatron out in front of him. Hit him for 2, it's nothing that big, so we have a couple of pretty decent minions on the board. And we have a Murloc Knight in the wings, which is always nice to have. We actually haven't seen the Murloc Knight as of yet, so pretty happy to get him in. Actually, I think I've used him a couple times in arenas, but never on the ladder as we just got him. Very, very excited to use him, and just going to wait and see what he can play this turn. Knife Juggler and a Secret. So we can actually kill off the Knife Juggler pretty easily here. Probably attack him in the face of the Annoyatron first to see if that secret is the get down, and it is. So you end up killing that off instead. And then we can actually see when your minion dies. Alright, that didn't do exactly what we wanted it to, but we can use the Blessing of Might to kill him off anyway. Gives a 2-5. Or a 5-2 on the board behind a taunt, which isn't the worst thing that could happen against a board with just a 1-1 hero power minion. Next turn, put out a Murloc Knight probably, unless we get a Quartermaster and then we muster for battle. Just to prepare for when we can use the Quartermaster on the next turn. And hoping to keep out the shielded minibot for another turn, and it looks like we will. Even though we lose our guy to the True Silver Champion, he's going to be able to do 5 damage, and there we go. Put out the Murloc Knight here. Probably will either go after the Murloc Knight or the 5-1. Gives him a couple of targets on the board to choose from. Either one, we're in a pretty good position, and he chooses the Knight instead of the shielded minibot. Kind of disappointed in that, as I really wanted to use the Knight, but he does a pretty good job. And it's going to be up to the Knife Juggler to kill that guy off instead, which is pretty good for us. Use the Hammer of Wrath here to kill him. Draws the card, kills off the Knife Juggler, and we deal 5 more damage, bringing him down to 17. With what will probably be an empty board on both sides for us to put a Lord of the Arena down on. So we will still be in a pretty good shape going into next turn, depending on if he plays anything really menacing. Shielded Minibot, not really too big of a threat, neither is the Reinforce, so there we go. That'll be a nice turn 8, I'll probably save it. Until then I'm probably going to just put out the Berserker because he doesn't really have anything big on the board that the Berserker can't deal with and get buffed up from dealing with anyway. The next turn do the Lord of the Arena, and follow it up by the combination of Muster for Battle and the Quartermaster on turn 8. So we got some really, really good combinations coming up for the next couple of turns. Hopefully put up a taunt wall he can't break through yet, in front of the 3/3s. His turn 8, 3/3s, as well as a 2/5 is pretty good. Sludge Belcher is going to be a bit annoying, as well as that secret likely will. He's just going to go for face. That is not bad for us. Use that and the Blessing of Might to get rid of the Sludge Belcher, hopefully. Unless it's another Noble Sacrifice, in which case he won't, but it'll still buff up my Gurubashi Berserker. And we have an 8/5 and a 6/5 on the board against a 3/5, 2/2, and a 1/1. Granted, his have a couple of effects on him, but still looking pretty good here. And a pretty big advantage depending on what he plays. Ragnaros, however, will cause us quite a bit of trouble here, but we can put out a pretty target-rich environment anyway, where Ragnaros won't really be too much of trouble unless he kills a Berserker, which he doesn't. Could really buff up the Berserker here, but this is probably the best move. Put a bunch of 3/3s out. Gives us a weapon. It's not enough to kill off the Sludge Belcher, unfortunately. Kill off his 1/1. And there we go. We have quite a few targets for his Ragnaros to attack. And a pretty big board here that if he doesn't kill off the right minion, we could kill him next turn. Unless he has something to give his guys taunt, or a big taunt minion, he's going to flood his board. But it's going to bring the Gurubashi Berserker's attack down. Do we still have lethal on him next turn, though, with the Blessing of Kings? It'd be 9, 10, 11, 15, so he'd be just short. Doesn't kill him off, and could put out another Berserker, or we could bring out a Questing Adventurer, buff one of these guys up, and just trade him and the Peacekeeper into that guy. And then, does he have lethal if we attack him face first? We have 2, 4, 7 damage on his side of the board. I'm just going to hit him for 5 here. Actually 6. Could have killed off one of his minions with the 1 attack weapon, but I'm going to just keep pressing while we have an advantage on the board here. Equal hand, Lay of Hands is not very good for us. It does give us a turn where he doesn't play anything else, but he can clear quite a bit off of our board. Shielded Minibot is going to be a bit of trouble. He gets the Questing Adventurer down. Brings that guy down, brings out a couple of spiders, or it does not. But we can put out a Lord of the Arena, a Berserker, a Force Tank Max thing. I'm going to put out a Lord of the Arena just to get something big out there. Bop that and kill off the shielded Minibot to where he only has a spider on the board to deal with our big taunt guy and a couple of extra minions behind it. And we can put out a Berserker and the Force Tank on the next turn. Not and, but or. He's probably got a lot of secrets to use, and he's only got 2. None of them are Noble Sacrifice. Probably, I don't know if he has one of the ones that brings one of our minions' attack down to 1, which would be pretty bad for the Force Tank, but not for the Berserker. He's going to go and trade a couple of minions into the Lord of the Arena. Puts him in a pretty good position. We can kill that guy off and bring out a Berserker here, though. And it's not one of those. Trade in the 1/1. Avenge. Probably should have killed off the 6/6 because I knew that would happen, most likely. Kill that off. I was trying to avoid a Noble Sacrifice, even though I knew we already used 2 of them, so pretty much just killed ourselves there. Should have actually killed that guy off before killing one of the spiders, but all the same. We ended up losing it. It was pretty tight back and forth game. Very fun, but hop right back in and try to get our first win of the episode here on the second match. It brings us up to 150 gold, so we can afford another arena run. I think we're still in the middle of one, though. I'm not sure, though. And hopefully this one goes a little bit better than the last against a Warlock. I'm going to draw into nothing that we want to keep. Quartermaster's tempting, but I will discard him. Bring in a couple of new cards, which will give us a Muster for Battle, a Shielded Minibot, and a Blessing of Wisdom, which is pretty good. Be good to draw into a Leper Gnome here, and we get a Blessing of Kings, which is always nice to have a Blessing of Kings, one of my favorite cards in this deck to use, especially with the Berserker. It gives a pretty big Berserker that doesn't have the damage deficit early on. And there's a Leper Gnome that we wanted a bit late, but all the same, it gives us a card that we can use next turn as opposed to the Muster for Battle, along with maybe a couple other cards or one other card, depending on what we get here. Shielded Minibot, he's going to life tap, so we might actually use the Blessing of Kings on the Shielded Minibot because it could probably stick around for quite a bit and draw us multiple cards. Deal 2 damage, and we draw into a Leper Gnome, so there is 3 cards on the board. Get a pretty good early start here. We've got pretty good board control, we've got card draw, and we're doing damage to him. Even if he floods the board himself, we have Consecrate. We could really buff up the Shielded Minibot to make him not get killed as easily. Mortal Coil is pretty good for him, and he's got a Blood Imp. But we can use the Blessing of Kings on this guy to give him a pretty good advantage here. Do I really want to trade the Divine Shield in? Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. Draw another card. And then deal 2 damage to his face. Just keep his board clear of minions that could do any damage to us. We got a 6/6 that draws us a card whenever we hit with it. We're in a pretty good position there. Could put out an Annoyatron, we could Muster for Battle next turn, we could Consecrate. That's pretty bad for us, but it could be worse. Annoyatron will block it pretty well. Alternatively, we could kill it off with the Shielded Minibot, thanks to a Blessing of Might, which I am going to go ahead and do. Brings the Shielded Minibot down to only 3 health, or 2 health, but he is behind a taunt wall. Use a Blessing of Wisdom on that Leper Gnome, give it 5 attack. Just hit him in the face for a ton of damage early on and keep drawing cards. Get another Blessing of Kings, so we could end up rushing down this Warlock pretty well if he doesn't have an AoE or something. We got board control in the Consecration, as well as a Blessing of Kings. He's going to Dark Bomb this guy. There's one of our bigger minions, but we could have a 9/5 in the form of the Leper Gnome next turn, and it looks like we will. Put out another Annoyatron in front of it, deal 9 damage to the face and draw a card. And it's a Quartermaster, so we have a pretty good turn 8 combo on the wings if we can't kill him next turn. We're looking pretty good so far. Lots of buffs coming in early and doing a lot of impact for us on our early minions. Shielded Minibot did a ton for us in card draw and damage. Now this Leper Gnome is looking to do pretty good for us. He's going to draw another card looking for probably a spell to kill us, but he doesn't find one, and we get the win here. And there we go. So you get a nice win there on the second match. Thanks to a couple of early minions that get buffed up pretty well. Hop right back into a third one. Might try to just make this a rush deck. With just capping out with the Quartermaster and a couple Musters for Battle, along with some early minions that we can buff up pretty well. That might work pretty well. Be nice to go second and be able to coin something out after a questing adventure, but get rid of the other two, or the other one, and get a Muster for Battle. The best thing we could draw would be a Leper Gnome here. Probably won't happen again. We get a Hammer of Wrath. End up having to pass back over to him. Don't have anything until turn 3, unfortunately, so we're not in the best position right now. Luckily, he doesn't have a turn 1 and we can draw into an Annoyatron. Gets us a pretty annoying taunt on the board for turn 1. He's going to use hero power to get the Divine Shield off, which is fine with me. It leaves a minion on the board for us, which is a 1/2 taunt, and he doesn't have anything to use afterward. And do we give it 3 attack and Divine Shield, make it a 4/2 with Divine Shield again? Or do we put out a questing adventure behind it? I think the adventure is the best option here. Give the adventure the 3 health and 3 attack and Divine Shield to make it stick a little bit longer, as well as potentially get more buffed up. Coining something out for 4 mana, which is going to be a Yeti, which you can kill off with the Seal of Champions, questing adventure if we want to, and probably will. Go ahead and give him 6 attack, Divine Shield, kill off the Yeti with him. Attack with the taunt, and we have a 3/6 on the board that gets stronger every time we play a card, as well as a nice taunt. And he's going to use Wrath on it. It's kind of disappointing, but again, that's most of his turn once again. And he still hasn't really made too much progress in killing us. I'm going to put out another Annoyatron and a bunch of 1/1s behind him and just hit him for 2. Slowly whittling him away right now, but we have a pretty nice buff in our hand. Force Tank Max for later, Hammer of Wrath to deal with anything he puts on the board for 3 health. Deal with half of that. Consecration is interesting, but I think I'm just going to give the Blessing of Might to him and Hammer of Wrath it to take it off the board, keep him with an empty board. And we get a Blessing of Kings to potentially put on this guy next turn to make it an 8/6. If you get a Quartermaster, that would be nice, but we are looking pretty good with the Blessing of Kings next turn anyway. 7 mana, so we don't really have anything to combo. With that, he's probably going to kill the 4/2 off, and he does. Kind of disappointing, but it did its job. There's another one of his turns, pretty much used just to take out our minions. And he didn't get to kill them all anyway, and there is a Lord of the Arena to throw at him. So just keep whittling him away, waiting for a potential Quartermaster or something to use. And put out a big taunt. If he has a swipe, that would be very good for him right now. But he hasn't been playing like he has one, and a Frost Elemental is not a swipe, so still looking pretty good here. Seal of Champions. Can we kill off the Frost Elemental with that? Looks like we probably can. Using our weapon here and kill it off with the buffed up minion. Keep the board clear, give this guy 5/5 taunt, hit him for 7. Pass it over to him, and he has a pretty difficult board to deal with here. What does he have to counter it? A Wrath. That's going to draw him a card, kill the 4/1 off. He has 6 mana left to kill off at least the Lord of the Arena to keep himself alive. But with Consecrate, we can still kill him even if he does kill off the Lord of the Arena, so he'd have to kill off quite a few minions. Innervate into, does he have an Ancient or something? Does in the Ironbark Protector, but I think we still have this here with the Consecration and then trading the Lord of the Arena, then just hitting him for 6, so we end up getting another victory here with a pretty rush heavy Paladin deck with all of the buffs and the early taunts, Divine Shields and whatnot. So far we're doing pretty good here, and I think I'm going to end this here after a couple of pretty nice wins, but as always, thank you all for watching and hope to see you all next time.